Hello there you guys, it's Miss Charlotte and welcome back to another video on this channel. Today I am bringing you part 2 of my abandoned old church speed build. Firstly, I want to apologise for a bit of a late upload. I have not been on top of it at all and I don't really have an excuse anymore as I am off work at the moment and looking for a new job, which is very exciting. So hopefully I'm going to get back on track. I know I've said this multiple times, but I'm really going to kick myself into gear and try and get some really nice consistent uploads for you guys that you will enjoy. But without further ado, let's talk about the speed build. So this was meant to be a little bit Halloween themed, but now I think about it, it's not strictly Halloween. Like, you can make a creepy church at any time of year, can't you? But today we are working on the interior. I do want to note that I did have to edit some of the exterior again. I'm pretty sure I saved it all correctly, but when I came back to do the second part, because I didn't build it all in one, I did take a session of building to do the exterior and then took a break. Then I did the interior separately. But when I came back in to do the interior, all of the ivy and the gravestones were just not there. So I don't know if my save corrupted or something, but I had to go back in and redo all the gravestones. They're pretty similar to where they were before, nothing drastically different. I did try to replicate the ivy like absolutely to a T. Like, I went through the video and kind of tried to place it in the same way, which is so extra and unnecessary, but I did like the way it came out the first time. Just to note that that's the only thing I really did off camera. But as you can see, I was working on the inside today, so I was going for a lot of dark woods because I did want to make this look a little bit dismal, a little bit creepy, not too bright. So I went ahead and put some pews in. I also put some columns down the middle which kind of marked out where the aisle of the church was going to be, which I liked. Also, as you will see later on, I made some upper balconies that I talked about last video where I was going to put more pews. I kind of planned it in my head as where the choir would sit, like I put an organ up there and things like that, but the pillars were supporting there. But it did take me to the end of the video to realize that the pillars were actually in the wrong place, so I did have to move them in the end. But in the end, it ended up looking good and pretty realistic. So yeah, I decided when furnishing this church not to make it strictly looking like a traditional church. My church experience is probably a Catholic church. I most know what they look like, and that's why the main layout of this kind of looks like that. So you have pews, you have an aisle, and then you have the little sanctuary area where there's the altar and stuff. But obviously that's quite hard to achieve in The Sims without custom content or mods or anything, because there's just not lots of religious stuff. So what I did was I loosely based it on a church layout, but also I included some weird like vampiric stuff, like vampire stuff from the vampire pack, to try and make it look like a bit of a vampire hangout. Like, this is where they'd all congregate in this really creepy church that they've kind of reclaimed. That's kind of the vibe we were going for, because we were still feeling spooky vibed, you know, it was Halloween yesterday. But yeah, so that's kind of what I was going for. As you can see here, doing the little upper balcony areas, I tried to make it as symmetrical as possible, and at first I was going to do a bridge in between the balconies, but decided to go on stairs for either side. I'm pretty sure the way I've built this is pretty functional. I don't know what you would use this as, to be honest, in terms of making it a functional build. Like, I guess you could get someone married here, like 2 vampires actually, that'd be pretty cool. All you'd have to do really is get an archway at the end of the aisle. I was thinking about making a red aisle, like a red carpet, but I decided it was way too bright and made it look a little bit like a normal church, so I went with grey. I also went in and added lots of cracks and things. I did that to the outside as well, just to make it look very worn and more abandoned, like I wanted this to look. Because you can get some like perfectly nice usable churches that are like new, that they've used ivy to grow on to make it look really, really pretty, but the cracks and everything I thought really solidified the idea that was kind of broken and old. And I did the same with adding lots of cobwebs and things like that. Some of the decorations are very spoopy, as you can see, very vampire themed. So the gargoyles, there's different statues, there's a massive portrait of Vlad. Apparently this is the Church of Vlad, I think this is his personal church, which kind of makes sense because in the vampire world he is like the head of the coven. I was gonna say coven, that's for witches. What is a group of vampires called? A swarm? A swarm of vampires? I also put some other portraits in. I don't know who these people are, just some regal people that are kind of important in this church's founding or something like that. And I made sure to put like some chairs there, kind of like in a real church where you have like some chairs for the altar servers and then on the other side like for the priest. And then right at the front of the church I also had like an area with cupboards and stuff, which you would normally get in a separate room. It's really actually quite tricky to try and make a realistic build, a religious one in The Sims. It's really hard actually. As I said before, I did a mixture of vampire, hangout, slash church, slash not really a church. I mean, the altar is made up of 2 bars, like it's not very strictly a church, you know? So then I went around and added loads of candles. By the end of this video, you will see there are so many candles. I used the little cluster of ones. I think they're base game, but they're all extinguished. And I think that was a cool look because obviously I didn't want everything to be nice and lit up with lots of plants and living stuff. But I guess even though it's abandoned, maybe it's being run by some vampires, and to the outside world, to all the rest of the normal Sims, it looks like it's abandoned, but they've kind of claimed it as their own. I think that's kind of the storyline behind this one. I wanted to make it look very old and traditional, so no electricity really, just lots and lots of candles everywhere. And I quite like it. When you use candle lights in The Sims 4, most of them have like really warm tones, which I hate normally when building because it gives everything a weird yellow hue. But with this kind of creepy build, I think it really worked. So I really liked it. But as you can see, just putting loads and loads of candles all over the place, which I think is really cool. The reason why I did this mainly is because I did want it to look a little bit cluttered. I was worried it was going to look really empty because I don't know, there's not a lot you can put inside a church other than pews. There are some things now I'm looking, I'm like, oh, I wish I added that. Like there's this little cart of books which is meant for like a library, which I thought would be cool to put at the back of the church. Now I'm thinking about it because, like, you know, you'd have prayer books and stuff like that. But mainly I was like, candle, candle, candle. That is how we're gonna make this look good. And I think it kind of worked. But yeah, in other news, I do like to talk to you guys in these speed builds and just have a quick catch up. So I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone had a good Halloween. I had a really wonderful one, and I streamed and I played Outlast, which was absolutely terrifying, but really fun. It was really great. So go check that out on my Twitch if you want to watch back the VOD whilst it's still there. There's a few horrendous clips of me screaming, but it was a whole lot of fun, and I am going to be finishing off the game, I think, which is a bit scary. But anyway, back to the build. So talking about the bell tower that I said I was going to build in this build last video. Obviously there's no bell in The Sims 4, I came to find out. I did some research and I couldn't find any. The closest I could get was in the vintage glamour pack, which I don't unfortunately have. There is a butler bell that people tend to size up and use as a bell in like church builds. So I was a bit stumped. I was looking at first for things that look like a bell, and I decided to just go with a big monument as something at the top of the church, like something really significant. So I've been rewatching Vampire Diaries, which is very appropriate actually for this time of year, with my sister, and they have this whole storyline of this bell ringing it 10 times and no 12 times, and just hellfire and stuff like that. And it just reminds me of like historic stuff and like weird cursed objects and strange things like that. So I guess that is a weird vampire cursed object. I'm trying to think, like at the top of this bell tower, it's got a little plaque, it's a bit cursed and weird, and that's what's up there instead of a bell. So yeah, just adding some final details really. So at the altar I used this book, which I think is good. It looks like a little lectern, and then a little microphone as well. I changed the color of these pillars so the brown kind of matched. But that was pretty much it for the build. I'm really happy how the inside turned out. I really did like this build, and I was really impressed with the exterior as well. But that is pretty much it. I hope you guys did like it, and if you did, do give it a thumbs up and let me know what other videos you would like to see on this channel. Also feel free to subscribe to stay tuned for videos every Saturday, and that is pretty much it. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.